If any of you have audio problems, just let me know and we'll try to fix that, but it should work like a charm. Okay, so I think we can start now. First of all, thank you very much for all of you to join this webinar. This is going to be a Landbot Basics webinar, which means we're going to cover the basics of the platform. So I'll walk you through the different parts of the app, different sections, from the dashboard to the analyze section, going through the chatbot builder and everything. We'll try to keep it short. That's going to be like a 20 minutes walkthrough, and then we'll be answering some of your questions if you do have some. Again, this is going to be a Landbot Basics webinar. So if you're a more advanced user, this is going to help you kind of figure out where everything is in the app. Where can you find our features, like every power up, every integration, every custom setting you can modify from the settings section. And at the end, we'll be answering some of your questions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off my camera, this beautiful remote control camera, and I'm going to share a little presentation of what we're going to see on this webinar. Then we're going to go to the app and I'll show you how it all works. And finally, we'll have that Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A section right at the bottom of your connection. And also, we are recording this webinar as usual, and we'll be uploading it to YouTube too. So we'll send you the link, even if you're not here, you're watching it on YouTube. We're going to send the link to every single registered for this webinar. So thank you very much again. I'm going to switch off my camera and start sharing my screen. By the way, you see Yakipan all the way as my name, but it's not my name. I'm just using our mother account. Yaki is our CEO, as you know. So I'm already sharing my screen, the classic banana right there. Let me go to the presentation. So as I was saying, this is a Landbot Basics webinar. Today is August 16th. It's quite hot here in Barcelona, like 32 degrees. And it's quite late. It's quite early in the United States, but it's 6 p.m. here in Spain and in other parts of Europe. So that's me, Chris VR. I'm the responsible for operations and co-founder, and also helping me manage all these questions and tasks is Frank Conejos, our CMO. So let's start. We'll teach you the basics of Landbot, including our new dashboard. This is something we released like a week ago, and it's way more powerful. And I'll show you what you can do that you couldn't with the previous dashboard. I think it's way more interactive and easy to use. We also go through basic flow building, like what the heck are those blocks? How do we connect them? And what the different block types mean, like send a message, ask a question. But we also go through every single power up, because sometimes we have features you don't really know that even exist, and then you don't use it, and you come to us and say, hey, how can I do this? And we are like, all right, with this power up. So I'll go through all of them and I'll try to explain you what you can do with each one of them. Again, as you know, I'm not technical, so for webhook and callback, I'll just give a brief explanation. If you have more questions on that, please use the Q&A section. If I'm not able to answer those, I'll forward them to the product team or to the technical team, and I'll get back to you with an answer. Finally, we'll have an integrations overview. We integrate with different apps, as you can see, like Zapier, MailChimp, or Slack, and I'll explain you how that works. And finally, we'll go through the other steps in the Landbot building process, the sharing section, also the analyze section, where you can check all your results and conversion rates, also settings to customize the meta info, etc. And finally, that classic Q&A session. Great. So let's start. Let me go back to the ad, and let's start with this brand new dashboard. I think it's big enough. Hope it's clear. So this is the dashboard of your app. So once you log in, you'll see this. It used to be like these big squares with not that much information on each one of the chatbots. But if you click here, you can change the view, and it becomes a list with way more information. You can access the URL directly by clicking here. You can go to the chatbot builder by clicking on edit. You can move on to the analyze section if you click here on view metrics. And also you can go to the chat section if you click here. So you don't need to open the chatbot and this and that. Just click there and you'll move on to our chat section. I'll show it to you later, where you can see all the conversations in real time. Then we got some metrics here. We got chats, we got leads, and we got finished. Don't pay much attention to our tests because these metrics can be a bit crazy. But chats means that someone started a conversation. Leads means that he or she provided a way to contact back with them. And finally, finished means that they've reached a block that's not connected to any other block, which be considered as a finished conversation. If you want to duplicate or delete any of your Landbots, you got these two icons right here. But what's really, really cool here is that you can actually sort all your Landbots by different filters, like the chat number or the lead number or the creation date. This is one of the most useful, and you can do it on both ways. So it's quite interesting, and you can also use the search bar to look for some specific Landbot you're looking for. So I can type in webinar, and I see all the webinar related Landbots right here. We got a lot of them. So yeah, this is the new dashboard. Of course, we still have the templates up here. We've had the NPS template like a week ago. We'll be adding more and more templates. Again, if you feel like you need some template for some specific use case, let us know. We'll work on it and we'll upload it to the app. If we scroll down, we got the other channels. So depending on the pricing plan you are able to integrate a messenger chatbot for a starter plan or a WhatsApp chatbot for the business plan. If you have some questions on these, please let us know through the Q&A section or drop us an email to help@landbot.io. So this for the dashboard. Now I'm going to create a new Landbot, and I'm going to explain you the basics on building and the different type of blocks we can create. So I click here and create a new Landbot. As you know, every single Landbot starts with the start message. And you can remove it, and it's just a message or a sequence of messages and images and some buttons. You can also remove the buttons. So the text field will appear. They can enter anything to move on the conversation. What's really, really important about the start message is that we don't store the information provided by users. So if you ask a question using the welcome message, that answer is not going to be stored. So we always recommend saying hello while we're explaining the service in the start message, and then ask questions with regular blocks. So something interesting too, do it through the GDPR. We're fully GDPR compliant. For those of you that don't know, you can click here on these toggles, switch it on to add some legal consent. Same for cookies or privacy policy. You can customize the text here by clicking your accepting our and then a hyperlink. So you can link each one of your visitors to your privacy policies. So they're safe with that. You know, if you want to be compliant, it really depends on the market you are in and the industry too. But you can add these on the start message, which means that if they click there, they're giving you the right to capture all that data. So I'm gonna keep it and apply these changes. So the two main types of blocks we have here are the send a message block. This is the classic one. We can add any message here in Spanish or English, and we can give it some format, like make it bold or make it italic, but we can also transform it into HTML text. So as you know, Landbot is super versatile, and it allows you to, from embed a whole app inside a message using HTML to track conversions, to everything. So click here if you want to add those HTML tags and bring your Landbot functionality to the next level. You can also upload images and YouTube videos by just pasting the link here. That's the most basic block. You'll be using it a lot. But the interesting part of Landbot is the ask a question type block, because Landbot stores every single answer your users provide. So we got the classic one, it's buttons. So it's just a question and a bunch of options. As you know, we position ourselves as the anti-AI chatbot, which means that we're not into artificial intelligence. We're not into natural language processing or machine learning. We're more into conversational user interfaces, which means that instead of giving free text inputs to each one of our questions, we rather provide buttons, different options to kind of better define what the conversation is going to be like and set the expectations of our users. So we got buttons if we want to give several options. We also have classic questions like name, email, text, or number. Some of them have validation, like the email. We're going to make sure that that format is the one of an email. And if it's not, we're going to launch an error message. That's really important. Same with number. You cannot type in letters when being asked for a number. We control that and we validate the format of the answer. We got phone, we got file. We can upload files or have our users uploading files of up to 5 megabytes each. We can ask for dates, and then we'll have that calendar by there. And then some other cool question types like yes, no, to keep it simple. Autocomplete, this is a great one. Let me show you this one. So we can give some options. These are the options. And we can add buttons and buttons, but the final user, what is going to see is this. So we can click on preview at any time to preview our creation. So let me click there and show you what the autocomplete question looks like, because we get asked a lot about these autocomplete new question. So you can start typing here and it's going to filter the results. So it's really, really useful if you're trying to give, I don't know, like 1,000 different options, or you're asking for the state, or you're asking for things like that. You can actually add all those buttons and they can just start typing to filter between the answers. So that's interesting to know. If we go back to ask a question types blocks, we got also scales, which are dynamic ways of asking for scores. Same for rating. So instead of give us a mark, you can just put there some emojis and they can pick from it. So if I click here, I can select different ratings, different sort of scales, and they can choose from. And finally, we have the picture one. So the picture one allows you to add big pictures into each button. So instead of just a little icon there, you can give all the protagonism to pictures by adding this sort of question. Later on, I'll show you a bot that actually contains all these type of questions so you can see them in real time. So let me delete these blocks. It's important, if the questions are not defined, the system won't allow you to save. So it's important to define each question type. And if we're not going to use that block, we can just delete it. Great. So that's for send a message and ask a question. 50% of our build are already done. So let's go for Powerups. So Powerups are different bot superpowers that allow you to do complex things on the background. So instead of sending a message or giving options to our users, Powerups work behind the scenes to, well, do cool stuff for us. So here we got bot superpowers. The first one is a goodbye message. This goodbye message allows you to add some actually goodbye message at the end, and you can add social sharing icons. You can give the user the possibility to start the conversation again and redirect to some URL. Maybe at the end of your Landbot, you want to redirect to some other website to your users. You can use the goodbye block for that. So going back to Powerups, we got the human takeover. So the human takeover, as you know, is that point that when reached, the system will assign the conversation to one of your agents. So it allows you to customize it. You can click here in custom and customize every single message here. But the sequence looks a little bit like leave us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So we store that answer. Then we ask for a way to reach back. We ask for the email here, and we can customize all these texts. And if there are agents available, the conversation will be assigned and it can be managed as a human. Next Powerup is conditional logic, one of the big ones. So conditional logic blocks allow you to set rules that are going to define which path the conversation is following. So for instance, if we are trying to get leads from a specific company, let's say Coca-Cola, we can set a conditional logic block after asking for that email. That's going to look like, I don't know, the field email contains coca-cola.com. So if we ask for the email and it contains that coca-cola.com, then we're going to follow the true path. So it's great to say something like, hey, you work at Coca-Cola? I want to talk to you. And if it doesn't, then it will follow the false path. So that's the logic behind the conditional logic. It can be used in multiple scenarios, like when you don't want to ask twice for the same piece of information, you can say, all right, so field name is set. So if field name is set, just skip the name question. This is really useful too. If you have a lot of revisits in your Landbot and you don't want them to go through every single block over and over again, you can set these conditional logic with the rule is set. So if we have already provided that information, the system will just skip that question. So again, explore the Powerup because it's really powerful and there are a lot of things you can do. You can keep adding more and more rules. So you can make it as complex as you need. Now we got to jump to other bot Powerup, and this allows you to actually jump to other bots. So this is a block that contains another chat bot within it. So let's say we have some NPS survey bot, and instead of creating those NPS survey questions on every single of our Landbots, we can just link to that specific Landbot. And at the end or whatever, the user will go to that other bot. So we can just basically link bots. So we don't need to have that huge structure for every one of our creations. We can just link bots. And then the last superpower is A/B test. So you may not know if it's better to ask first for the email or the name or the address. So you can add these A/B test block to basically split the traffic into two paths. So you can select the percentage of users that will go through each one of the paths and then decide which order is better or which tone or which language should you be using depending on your purpose. Great. Now we got these Powerups for developers. It's the webhook and the callback. Webhook type block allows us to send information to any other third-party app out there or a database or anywhere. So if you're trying to send information to an app that's been built for you by you, or that doesn't have it's not part of Zapier's directory, you can always configure a webhook and send that information from Landbot to anywhere else. And the callback takes it a bit farther, and it allows you not only to send information to third-party apps or systems or databases, but also bring back information to the chat in form of response codes. So let's say I got some database of user IDs and I want to ask for it in the chat and I want to make sure that ID is part of my database. I can do it. I can use a callback for that. Or like in the example we cover in our knowledge base, you can connect your Landbot to some weather API. So users can enter a city and you're going to send that information to the weather API and bring back the actual weather for that city. That's what callback are used for. So finally, we have these global configurations. These are something like between settings, some Powerups. And let me go one by one. So customize errors. If we click here on customize errors and we switch it on, we'll see a new text block for each one of the questions we make so we can customize the error message. Remember when I told you about the ask a question type blocks that validated the format like email or number? So we can customize the error message that's going to be launched when the validation hits failed. So if I apply these changes and I create an ask a question email, I see here that I got a validation error message that otherwise would be by default. But if you want to customize this, you can do it by switching on the customize errors Powerup. Back to Powerups, we got type in emulation. So the type in emulation is this little animation that appears when the chatbot is typing. It happens on every single instant messaging app. And by clicking here, you can customize how much it takes every message to be delivered, or you can even make it custom for every single message. You can actually enter the number of seconds you want each message to be delayed. So this is great if you're trying to give that human approach, that human touch to the whole experience. You can customize exactly how much does it take for every message to be delivered. You can switch this on to make each message customizable. You can spend a lot of time here, guys. So if you're into making it more human, this one's for you. Now we got the persistent menu, and the persistent menu is the buttons you can add to the header of your Landbot that are gonna whether link to a specific block in the flow or redirect to a new URL. So if I create a persistent menu here with info like pricing or contact, you can see that each one of these buttons can be or connected to a different block like this one, or they can redirect to a different URL. I just need to click here, external link, and let's go for google.com. So let me show you how this looks like. Oh, sorry, again, I need to define the question type. So I click save and publish. Oh, sorry, yeah, this is kind of strange. It's just some A displayed connected to a persistent menu. Yeah, let's do it like this. So let me preview this, failed to fetch. Yeah, I believe I need to delete all these unconnected blocks. I'm sorry about that. Great. So let's continue. I was showing you the persistent menu. So let me preview these. You see I got two different buttons here, pricing and info. So as I was explaining, you can link these buttons to a specific part of the flow, or you can have users being redirected to any other URL. So it's great to have things like pricing or login or sign up or contact. So they can just are like shortcuts. They can click and move through the flow at any time. And I think we got one more. Yeah, we got hidden fields. So hidden fields allow us to send variables using the URL. So again, for each one of these power-ups, there's a specific documentation in our knowledge base. You can access our knowledge base if you click here on first steps down here, and you click here on knowledge base. So make sure you check each one of those articles because it explains step by step how to configure all these power-ups. And hidden fields allow us to send variables through the URL. So imagine you have your Landbot URL, you can add any field at the end of it, so you don't need to ask for that to your users because you already have that information. So that's super easy. That's how we built our one-click webinar registration Landbot. We already had your names, we already had your emails, so we just configured our hidden fields and send them through the variable, through the URL. So you don't need to type them in again. We already have them, so let's make things simple. Hidden fields right there. Great, and that's for Powerups. Let's check our integrations here. So we got different integrations. I believe my favorite one is Zapier integration. For those of you that don't know about Zapier, Zapier is a tool that allows you to connect different apps. So basically we have on one hand a trigger app and on the other hand an action app. So a trigger on app number one causes an action on app number two. So in this case, Landbot is the trigger app, which means that a new conversation is going to trigger something. And that something can be anything that comes to your mind because Zapier has a directory of over 1,000 apps. So imagine you want to create a new Spotify list every time you get a new lead. You can do that through Zapier. Or you want to receive an email notification, or you want a new record in your Airtable account. So Zapier allows you to connect Landbot collected information with any other and send it to any other tool of their directory. If the app you're trying to send information to is not part of Zapier's directory, you'll need to configure a send webhook. We've seen that on Powerups. Then we got MailChimp. Our MailChimp integration allows you to send leads straight to your MailChimp list. That's easy as that. So you can do that through Zapier, but with our native integration, you don't even need a Zapier account. If you're a marketing guy, if you're using MailChimp, just configure this integration and send all the collected leads to any of your MailChimp lists. So then we got Slack and email. These are for notifications. These are great. We have several of these configured in our accounts. So every time one of you registers for one of our webinars, we're receiving Slack notification. Every time some of you is asking for support, we receive an email. So it's simple as that. Just link your Slack or your Gmail account and you can receive notifications in real time. Remember, guys, that all these integrations are just blocks. So it's really important to know where to place it. So if you want to send an email to your MailChimp list, you need to ask for the email first. This sounds quite obvious, but sometimes we get a bit messed up with all the arrows in the flow. So the flow would be start message, then ask for the email, then place the MailChimp integration block. That's the most important thing. You need to ask for the information first and then put that block from Zapier, MailChimp, Slack, or whatever. Now we got Stripe. Stripe allows us to, for those of you that know, I believe Stripe is actually one of the biggest payment getaways out there. Thousands and thousands and thousands of startups use Stripe for billing. And with this integration, you can basically generate payments within the chat. So it's just a block that shows a lightbox, a Stripe lightbox with an amount, with a concept, and users can make payments, save payments using our Stripe integration. All you have to do is connect your account and configure that block. Then we got Google Analytics event, quite self-explanatory. This allows you to track events using Google Analytics, so you can create these blocks and add the tracking codes to track any conversion. And finally, last but not least, my second favorite one, I think, Google Sheets integration. So this integration allows you to do three things. So the first one is send information from Landbot to a Google Sheet. The second one is actually update information of one of your Google Sheet raws. And the third one is bringing back related information to the chat. So imagine the example I was telling you about before. So you have a list of IDs in your Google Sheet, and you want to make sure that user is actually your customer or is a member of your club or whatever. So you can ask for that ID. You can check in Google Sheets if it exists. You can bring it back to the chat and say, all right, you belong to my club, or this is even your specific data. It's quite powerful. We have a video explaining how it works and also an article in our knowledge base. So make sure to check it. It's part of our professional account. But again, if you're not technical, if you don't want to play around with databases or things like that, the Google Sheets integration works great for that. And those are our integrations. We'll be bringing more integrations soon. If you have any app that you would like to see here, please let us know. We are always keeping our feedback in the loop, and the product team is really listening to you guys. So, hey, I want to have a native integration of, I don't know, whatever. Just let us know and we'll think about it. All right, so that's for integration. So we got all the main options in the chatbot builder cover. Again, if you click here on first steps, we got different options. So you can click on builder basic, design the bot, or share your bot. And these three are step-by-step tutorials you can follow, and you can learn the basics on chatbot building. You have a direct link to our knowledge base where we have all these articles I'm telling you about. And also we have the technical documentation for our API, our channel API. So if you're a techie guy, you can just go there and check our documentation by clicking on first steps. And also we'll be adding a new category here that's going to be our community. Some of you might know that we've launched our community like a week ago, and it's a great place for you to share advice between the power users. If you have some questions that are not strictly support, you just want some inspiration, you just want to know about different use cases other users are experiencing with, definitely the community is the best place to share all that information. So if you look for in Facebook, if you search for Landbot community, you'll find it. Just apply to it. We'll give you the approval and you can just start posting there and solving other users' questions. Great. So that's for the builder. As you can see, we got 5 different steps when it comes to Landbot building. So the builder is the first one. We can always preview our creation here, but this one is just as important, is the design. So here we got different options. I always recommend going for a template if it's your first time building a chatbot. But you can also click on, I don't know, colors and background and customize every single color you see here in the interface. So we got, I think, more than 40 different variables you can customize, from the background, the header, the font size, the font type, any color. You can customize pretty much anything. But it's always great to go to design templates, because we have some cool things here, like the Vlad template that actually changes the header and makes it something like a hamburger menu. We got the survey template, which is quite beautiful. We got the nucleus template that rounds the buttons a little bit. And what's great about some of these templates is that they have some custom style sheets, some CSS applied to them. So you can learn also how to make your own edits and your own customization when it comes to design. So let's say I apply these changes. I like this nucleus template. So if I go to advanced, here I'm able to add CSS and JavaScript. So CSS is for design customization, and JavaScript is to perform different actions within the conversation. As you can see, this template by default comes with some CSS customization. So you can sort of understand how you can customize all these. So for example, yeah, we got this message bubble, and we got the border radius of 5 pixels. So I can make it bigger to make the button even more round. You can see here, this button, I can make it way bigger to make it more rounded, or I can lower it to 0 to make it square. So the possibilities, guys, are endless, and just play around with the design section. If you're into CSS or coding, feel free to go to advanced design, only available for premium accounts, and start playing with it. Great. Well, I'm not going to go here, but we got fonts, we got logo and avatar. You can customize everything. Now, let's move on to settings. So we got general settings here, like the bot name. We can remove branding if you have a professional account. We can decide what's going to happen the second time a user visits one of our Landbots. We can show them buttons to start again or continue. We can always start a conversation again. We can configure all this here. Then we got custom responses. So if you want to customize the interface texts, you can do it from here. Imagine you have a Landbot in Spanish. So you can modify all these texts, all these placeholders, the help text, the buttons to, well, make it whether translate it to your language or make it more special or give it your personal touch. You can modify it all from here. And finally, we got SEO and tracking. Here's the meta information. So whenever we share the Landbot URL, it contains different information. It's the meta title, the meta image, the fav icon you'll see on the tab of your browser, and the site description. So before sharing your link, make sure you customize the meta information, because by default it's going to be Landbots. So make sure you add a title, an image, and all that to make it look better. And here we can add some custom tracking snippets. We got the Google Analytics ID here. The symbol is pasted in there, and also the possibility to add other tracking snippets like the Facebook pixel, for instance. This is the way you need to go. Great, that's for settings. Let's move on now to the share section. So we got 2 different sections here. This is the original one. Every single Landbot you create is going to live under our domain in one of these URLs. You can just copy it, you can paste it, or you can share it using social media. But if you really want to get traffic, if you really want the experience to be complete, we always recommend to embed your Landbot into your website. And what's that? Well, it's basically copying and pasting this code into your website. So instead of in landbot.io/whatever, all your Landbots will be living in your domain. So that's really, really cool. And if you're trying to attract more traffic, it's always better to have it under your domain. Here you can select the format. You can go full page for the classic full page Landbot. You can go for widget mode. If you want to keep it smaller, if you want to replace a form in the footer, or make it just the hero shot, whatever. Or you can go for live chat, the classic bubble at the bottom right of the screen that when clicked displays the chat on the right side of your website. So the snippet will change accordingly. And all you have to do is copy it and paste it into your website. So it really depends on the website provider you're using, but easily 99.9% of them allow you to enter raw code. So you can, of course, have these cool drag and drop interfaces, but you need to be able to add code to create a new web page and just paste it there. If it's not showing or if there's any display issue, please let us know. Use our live chat to get help and we can help you sort that. But it's super easy to implement. And again, we always recommend embedding Landbot into your website, whichever format you want. Great. So once we've embedded into our website, the builders, the chatbot flow is great. The design looks perfect. Now we can analyze the results of our Landbot. So this one has no conversations because I've just created it. So let me go back to the dashboard. I'm going to exit without saving and open another Landbot that has some data. Let's look for this. Yeah, webinars up here. I can click here to go straight to the metrics section. So as you can see, we got different sections here. So the first one is metrics. And here we can see the 3 golden numbers I was telling you about. How many conversations happened on my Landbot? How many of them resulted into a lead, which means that it provided some way of contact, phone or email. And finally, how many of them finished the conversation, which means it reached a block that is not connected to any other block. So you can here filter by time, the time period too, and you can check all the different conversion rates you had for each stage of the funnel. So it's quite powerful and interesting to see how your conversion rate is evolving, and also to compare different Landbots. If you're running some A/B tests, for instance, this is a place you need to go in order to check what's going on with your conversion rate. And then we got, of course, some user information here. So this user information is like a CSV we can always download, and we can add filters to it. So every single person that ever talked to us is going to appear here. You can apply changes, like you can apply filters, like the name contains credits or the country equals something. You can also apply filters by time, and you can download all this information in CSV format. So this is great. I mean, all your conversations will be here. All the information provided by your leads will show up here, and you have some by default fields like the first scene and country, but all the other fields like email, name are things you're gonna need to ask for. So that's for the user section. Again, dynamic filters, both related to fields and to time. And you can also select which fields you want to see here by ticking or unticking all these columns. Great. And last but not least, we got our beta section, the flow analytics section. So this flow analytics allows you to see the block by block conversion of your Landbot. So we're still working on these, guys. This is quite complex to implement, and you might notice some inconsistency in terms of metrics. But here you can have a quick overview of which blocks are working, which blocks are not. Should I remove these questions? Should I make the flow shorter? What's the drop-off rate of that juicy question I make over there? So you can see how many users go through each block and how many drop off on each block. So this is great information in order to optimize your flow. So make sure you check this section, and if you notice anything strange, please let us know. We're testing it, we're adding more and more functionality to it, and we'll be happy to hear your thoughts and your feedback on it. And finally, we got the ticket section. Here there are no tickets, and this applies only to the business plan, but it allows you to create tickets or orders for different users you're having conversations with. This makes sense for a human approach. So Landbot is not going to create tickets for you, but if you're combining that chatbot and human attention, you can create tickets for your users if you're providing support, for instance, and you can add some information to them, like a description, some tags, etc. So if customer service is your use case and you go for a business plan, you'll be able to create tickets for your users and your conversations. And that's basically it. Last thing I wanted to show you is our chat section. So we've been in the dashboard and we've been through the whole creation process of a Landbot, but there's something more here in the app, and we can find it here in chats. So this is the other side of Landbot that some of you don't visit really often, but here we got every single Landbot you created on your account. And if you click on any of this, you can just go to that, see all those conversations right there. So what can I do here? Well, I can assign the conversation to myself, and I can start the conversation as a user. Hello, this is Chris. So it's not only chatbot conversation. You can jump into conversations. You need to configure our Powerup assign chat to a human agent in order to do so. But at any time, you can just jump into the conversation and start talking to your users or leads as a human. We got some information here, some collected by Landbot, some you can customize by clicking here, edit customer info. But again, this chat section is really, really useful if you're scoring your leads and you got that Coca-Cola email, or you flag some crazy budget. You can just come here, send a message, and you'll take over the conversation, so you can close the deal, or you can know more about that user, etc. So chat section, it's for that. We're going to completely redesign this section, actually. It's quite powerful, but we'll make it way more intuitive for you to manage conversations manually. But this is the chat section, and I wanted to show it to you. So I think that's it. I really hope it clarified what Landbot is all about, what the creation process looks like, and how you can manage all your conversations in Landbots. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, switch my camera on again. Let's see if you have some questions. All right, the camera is, that's scary. Let me. All right. That's why it costs more than €1,000. All right, so it's not ours, by the way. So let me take the Q&A section. You have some questions. All right. So first question, is it possible to reset Landbot automatically at the end of questions? Thinking about using Landbot for tablet kiosk sign apps. Yeah, it's possible. So it's possible to perform an automatic redirection in Landbot. All you have to do is set some HTML snippet, and there you can configure the text of that last block. How long is it going to take to redirect to another website that can be the same Landbot? So it's a little tricky process. So let me share it to you in the email we're going to be sending you with the information about these webinar, the recording and everything. But yeah, that's definitely possible to have the Landbot starting over and over again. Let me write that one down. All right. Yeah, some of you are suggesting a native integration with integromat.com. Yeah, we got this request already. I believe Integromat is something like Zapier, right? That allows you to link different apps. Being 100% honest here, since we are already integrated with Zapier, it wouldn't make much strategic sense to integrate other tool connector, and we might go for other native app that's more marketing or CRM related. But yeah, Integromat, it's a great tool. I haven't tried it myself, but heard of it, great things. So let me add that to our feedback backlog. Great. Yeah, same question here. What are the new things you're working on? All right, so we're working on many things right now. So you know, we've just closed our funding run, and we are basically doubling our headcount and thinking about where do we want to take Landbot. And the first thing, as I was saying, is the chat section. We're going to completely redesign the section to make it more intuitive, to make it more efficient, to manage manually all those conversations. But we also improve the human takeover. Right now, it's not that flexible. We have a predefined structure for that sequence of messages, but we'll work on that to make it more flexible, to make it more intuitive, and to give that takeover some other capabilities. And at the end, we'll try to not bring a lot of new features to the table, because we think that Landbot is already quite interesting and quite rich in terms of features, but we just make each feature better. I mean, we know that conditional logic is great, but instead of adding a new feature, let's make conditional logic even better. So that's our main focus right now. We want to make Landbot as stable as possible, as compatible as possible, and all of its features to be as powerful as possible. So that's why we're going to focus in the next weeks. Yeah, I think we're almost done. Another question about pricing. Yeah, I haven't gone through the settings of the actual account of the Landbot, but let me share the screen again and show you real quick. Yeah, so we got dashboard and chats, but if you click on your avatar, you got some information here. So you can set yourself busy. If you have some assigned chat to an agent block configured, you can set yourself to busy. So the system won't assign conversations to you because you're busy, right? So that's what you can achieve by clicking then you got account and company. Here's basically, well, information about your name, your avatar. You can modify it here, your email. You can customize all this personal information. Then you got seats. If you want to add some teammates, you can click here and add them if you're on a premium plan. And you also have subscription here. So you can click here at any time to check your current subscription plan, upgrade, downgrade, check your invoices, check every single feature each plan includes, and that's the subscription section. All right, one more question. When using integration with Facebook, is Landbot already has their name, email, or we have to ask for it? I believe not the email, but of course the name. I mean, the name is a public field on Facebook. So I believe we do have it. We might just have a different, I think we have a different way of calling it. So it's not add name for Facebook. I believe it's add first name and add last name. Let me ask the team about that, and I'll let you know, Jared, using them through email, all right? So name on Facebook, great. And another suggestion for a native integration, Infusionsoft 2.8. Yeah, that's similar to your previous suggestion. Infusionsoft, that's something we got some requests to, not as many as for Integromat, but Infusionsoft, again, the software I haven't tried, but I believe it has to be good because a lot of our users are using it. So yeah, let me write that one down. Thanks for that. All right, so we are done, guys. The webinar is over. Again, we'll be sending the recording as soon as possible, probably tomorrow, and we'll be answering also these couple of questions you made that I wasn't able to fully solve. And again, thank you very much for being part of this. Remember to join our community. I'll write a little reminder in the email. You can join the community and ask for anything there. We have power users that are willing to help. And also we are hosting a second webinar. I don't really have the date, but I believe it's on the 29th or something of August. In the very same link you used to register for this webinar, you can register for the other one too. And it's going to be an event-based webinar. So we're going to show you how to create a Landbot for an event, how to manage registrations, and how to have it all synced with the different apps you use. So make sure you register for that webinar too. Really hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for being there, and see you next time.